Graham and I started dating in high school. We carpooled together from our town, which was Federway, into Tacoma, Washington, and so we kind of knew each other from a young age and just grew up together. And so when I was working with my dad as a sterilization assistant a lot of times in the summers or after school, so I think he kind of knew that our family was involved in dentistry, but his main interest when he went to Wake Forest was to do medicine initially. And so I think it was partway through his time at Wake Forest, he came back and something made an impression on him that he decided to look a little bit deeper into dentistry.
Dentistry wasn't an option until I met Shannon's dad, and it was only through meeting Shannon and then through meeting her dad that dentistry became appealing to me, that I was able to learn about it from the provider's perspective, from what it meant to be a dentist, and my relationship with him.
That was kind of that was the beginning of our common interest in dentistry. And I think for my family, it had been a passion. My dad was a dentist. My brother was in dental school. My sister was married to a dentist. And so it was a real natural fit for Graham to join in that. What we didn't know, or what I didn't know, and I'm certainly unbiased, was just how talented he'd be at it. He will say that his least favorite place to be was in a dental office growing up. And so I think there's even a few pictures of him as a young kid, and he didn't look very happy to be at the dental office. But I think that's what has made him a really good clinician, is that not only did he have a natural interest in dentistry and wanting to join in the family fun, but I think because he was tentative about it himself, he always had the patient's view in mind. And
Shannon was a hygienist, and was a hygienist before I even started in dental school. So in 1999, I think she started her clinical career, graduated from hygiene school, and shortly thereafter I started in dental school. So we've always had dentistry as a part of our relationship, not just personally but professionally. She put me through dental school as a hygienist, and then when we graduated, because of my relationship with her dad and because of the timing, I was able to transition into associateship with him. And Shannon really had grown up in his practice, had really kind of been an assistant and volunteered and observed, and then was working as a hygienist in the practice when I came on as an associate. And so part of our history together, part of our legacy has always been working together in dentistry, in a dental practice. And I think that's been really neat. It's been fun to have that shared aspect together, where we get to experience both the challenges of what it means to own a small business that is a dental practice, but also the joys of what it means to build relationships with patients, to have that commonality.
So it was a neat thing for Graham and I to be able to work together in the Federway office, and that felt like family to us. The patients had known me probably since I was 3, and a lot of the staff, and they really were like family. So it felt like a very natural segue for us to start our career there. We grew up basically together. I think a lot of times people wonder how do husbands and wives work together, and I think it's always been somewhat natural because we were high school sweethearts. Our families knew each other, and so it was always just kind of a natural progression. And so also working for my dad, I think you learn how to maintain professionalism and keep your focus on the patients, and so that just made a really nice transition for Graham and I to be able to work together.
We didn't make the decision to move to Texas because we weren't happy with our practice in Washington. We made the decision to move to Texas because it was the best future forward vision for our family, and it was a hard decision, it really was.
One that we didn't anticipate. I think we thought that we would live in Washington our whole lives, and that we would carry out the legacy in Federway of my families, and that really had pretty much become Graham's legacy. And we loved the patients and loved the team, and so really through unforeseen events, but the general trajectory of our family was kind of moving south as the girls were getting older and going to college.
That's been the real blessing of it, in finding this practice in Colleyville.
We didn't have a grand plan in mind right from the beginning. It was kind of prayerfully, one little decision after another led to us moving to Texas, and then eventually being able to join the Davises in Colleyville.
To find out that they were a husband and wife, that he was a dentist, that she started out as a hygienist in the practice, that she transitioned to doing front office manager. When we met them for the first time, it was another thing that really just clicked and felt familiar, and was a neat part of their story and our story overlapping. There was just a lot of similarity in being able to talk about what it meant to run a dental practice together as husband and wife, to have a lot of that overlap. And so when we were initially in talks with them and they were letting us know that they were thinking of retiring, and all that it meant to them and how important it was that the team be well taken care of, how important it was that the patients would be looked after well, it just seemed to be a really nice fit from the standpoint of, yeah, Shannon and I get it. We understand where you guys have been. We understand the importance of that. And that's what we want to carry on. That's the legacy that we want to continue. That's our story as well.
We're so happy to be in Texas and to be able to call Colleyville home.
We truly are thrilled to be practicing dentistry here in Colleyville, and we look forward to meeting you and continuing on with the next stage of our journey.